That is probably one of the biggest benefits of headsets. Alex is a pro, so I have no worries about that. He's been podcasting from before there was podcasting. Hello and welcome to the Huskie Pack Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Killingbeck, and I'm joined by a trio of local experts in education, in school finance, and in technology. And so super excited. I'm going to have everybody kind of go around and say who they are, what's their role. And we've got a super exciting topic today we're going to be discussing on this Huskie Pack podcast.
I'm Denise Dowdell, Director of Business Operations and Human Resources.
And so then we're followed by...
I'm Keith Green, the high school principal here at Hemlock High School.
Then I'm Alex Haltom. I'm the Director of Innovation Technology and Media Services here at Hemlock Public Schools.
I'll tell you what, I think if we could have this group on almost any topic, you know, we got the money, we got the tech, we got the principal, we got the group right here is a great group to talk about almost anything. But today we're talking about esports and what are we doing at Hemlock Public School District? And we're going to cover a whole lot today. But so what are we doing, people? Like, you know, Alex, Denise, Keith, what are we doing here?
I think this is just from my standpoint is we're getting kids involved, you know, and when we look at getting having opportunities for students to do something with the school, something that's going to be getting them out of their house, and whether it's playing a traditional sport or getting involved in esports or robotics or drama. If we get kids out, get them active, get them working with other people, we're growing kids. That's as a school, that's what our job is.
Oh man, yeah, getting them engaged, getting them involved. And I think that Denise and Alex both have other aspects of that. Like, what are we doing, you know, with esports?
Yeah, so I think, like Keith said, the goal is to get as many people involved as possible, and that could mean more of a organized team, or it could even mean just a club after school every day. And I think kind of a segue to Denise would be she was able to cover this using some grant funding. So I think that's a great opportunity using grant funding.
Look at you, like just like a baton, you know, like are you guys running the 4x?
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
So he batons it off to Denise,
Yep,
sets the
passing
table.
it off to Denise right now.
Yes.
For a portion of this, and like Keith said, getting kids involved is really important. They say about 80% of kids who are involved in esports are not involved in any other activity or extracurricular at school. So finding ways to get every kid involved is really important to me. As a district leader and as a mom, making sure that all of our kids are involved is really important.
So Denise, did I hear you correctly that 80% of the kids that are involved in esports aren't involved in anything else?
Correct.
And I'm going to do the same kind of like baton toss because like Keith Green has heard me, actually, I think everybody at the table's heard me talk about this a bunch, but what do we know, Keith, about engagement in school safety?
It's they're hand in hand. The more your students are engaged, the safer school you have. And if you have a person to talk to every day, you have some excitement, you have a safe school.
So really trying to provide our kids with an opportunity to be engaged and have community in statistically with a group of students that may not otherwise. So they're not necessarily your athletes. They're not necessarily engaged in robotics or theater, drama, in providing an outlet for them to be engaged in school. So it's kind of a very exciting thing. You know, how are we going about this? It's interesting. I would say 4 or 5 years ago, Alex, we launched esports. You were the coach. We got these really cool, like gaudy jerseys.
Oh yeah.
You know, and we were involved, I think, that first year and involved for a couple of years even after, but participation and engagement with that changed. What happened there in such?
Yeah, I can talk about our journey a little bit. So there was an opportunity just down the road in Elma called Blockhouse, and they hold leagues for anybody to come and join from area schools. And that was a really eye-opening experience to see like where esports was heading, I think. because they were directly involved with Elma College and how many scholarships were started there because of esports. So it's cool to see us join their first year. And then I think we had a team the second year they had a league as well. And then it's hard to get excitement for esports when it's not on site. I think that was the biggest thing I learned. And I think the problem was getting people there, even though it's down the road, but still it's a half-hour drive, and it's just a challenge. It's a barrier. So bringing it here is just going to get more kids involved. I think that's the goal.
That's awesome. Anything else with the how? I mean, I think we've, Denise, from your spot, we've posted a job from the HR department for a coach.
Yep, we've got a job posted. We've shared it with some local universities who have esports teams, and we're hoping to get some really great candidates so we can be ready to start as soon as we're up and running.
And what does that look like? I mean, so, obviously there's leagues that are going on this year, and so we're going to be kind of ready at the tail end of this year. Looks like to be like April 15th. We should be ready to rock and roll in the room. And then some other things will unfold over the course of the next 3 to 9 months, maybe 12 months, that'll fully allow us to use the whole space and everything else that's there. But when would we be competitive? If we launch, in April, what do you guys envision as a timeline?
I'm looking at, we have to make some decisions on what direction we're going to go right now, even in following any league. There's different leagues. Like one is the MHSEL. I know that that a lot of schools participate in. I think there's 165 schools that are in that league, across the state. But that's not the only league. So I think there's some big decisions that we have to take a look at. What games are they playing? There's some different routines that they have. I think that's something that's going to be a big interest in for me, is what's going to be available for the kids that also, is appropriate for schools. And I'm looking at that. I'd love to get that rolling in the fall, but then get all of our legwork done this spring so we're ready to roll.
So we're really looking to have something in place, maybe a coach before the end of this year. We've even talked about like having some supervision for the room so kids can come in and have that like club type of atmosphere. So why are we doing this? We're the school that, and it was really crazy. We put this out on our socials, the Anxious Generation book, and I was blown away. Like, it was actually on my ottoman, and I took a picture and I sent it to our comms person, Joy, and said, please share this, that we're working on this. And the post got almost, it's over 150 likes and a lot of attention that I would have never expected from a post with a picture of a book.
It's a powerful book. If anybody has a chance to read that, I encourage it. It's very powerful, and as not even just as us as educators, but as parents and students to take a look at it's the message that it sends. Powerful.
Mm-hmm. So we're propagating, hey, you know what? Let's be mindful of our digital usage. Let's rein this in. And then at the same time, we're like, hey, we're going to launch esports. And so why are we going to do that? I mean, we've heard some of the reasons.
Yeah, I think really the data doesn't lie in this case. And I think, once again, I'll probably pass it off to Denise to really dive into the data because she's done a lot of research on it. But yeah, the data doesn't lie. And I mean, and attendance increases. That's just one example, but Denise could probably talk about it more.
So student attendance increases.
Yeah.
And we're talking about engagement from that aspect as an admin team right now. And so student attendance increases, their community increases. Denise, what are some of the other benefits?
Well, I mean, esports is held to the same standard as any other sport. So they have to have attendance. They have to have the grades to participate. But I mean, kids are going to game, whether it's at school or whether it's at home. So they're going to game. And this is giving them a good chance to have a sense of community at school. So for some kids, it's building new friendships, new relationships. It's just something that's going to happen. And I think we're giving them a healthy environment to do it, where they're building some friendships, they have leadership, they're building connections at school, and it's something they're going to do either way.
Well, and I think too, if you just refer back to the Anxious Generation book, it's the message that has is the solo and lone playing, how it does. They're not part of something greater than themselves. So being part of a team is important for kids to understand, to learn that socialization skill. The issue that comes up most within the book is talking about the lack of attention that's put into people that are online, and how they're not using social medias appropriately, and some of the downside of that, where I think having an esports team is actually going to promote positive digital citizenship, that we want to promote.
So, last part of our podcast, any advice? So we have people listening, we have parents, we got kids. What's your best piece of advice? And if you could connect it to esports, that's even better, but you don't have to. So what would your best piece of advice be for parents or kids listening right now?
I would have a quick one for parents, even though I'm not a parent, but growing up, I like to play video games a lot. And what was really cool was my dad and mom were always involved there playing games with me. So it's cool. Like, even thinking back to like playing Tetris, I didn't just play Tetris myself. I didn't just pick it up. My dad started playing Tetris and he showed me how to do it. So it's like building that bond with your kid. It's just finding things that are relatable. It's really cool.
Oh, I love that. I've got an old Xbox and I've been pulling it out and playing with my son, and loving a little bit of Madden.
Oh yeah.
A little bit of I'm trying to remember the soccer league.
FIFA.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's awesome that you bring that Tetris up, because when I was in school, we were back on the old Nintendos, not even the Super
Tecmo
Nintendo.
Bowl. Do you remember?
Oh,
We
the
were
Tecmo
playing
Bowl was
Tecmo Bowl.
amazing.
Yes.
I remember
Jackson.
the old Atari days, and but talking about Tetris, same thing. Over 30 years ago, my mom was out playing Tetris with me, and I think there's times she probably was better at it than I was.
Yep.
So I think it is a good opportunity to bond with your parent, and bond with your kid, and be involved. It gives you an opportunity to be involved with them too. I guess if I'm going to look at my greatest piece of advice, though, is just have an open mind. I'm looking at just my background. I was a college athlete. I was an athletic director here for a number of years, coached here for a number of years. And I was always one of those guys of, esports, what is that? That's not a sport. But then when you see kids that are actively involved and engaged in things, and then you see, wow, this is competition. And that's really what is important, is that you're getting kids involved. They're understanding what it's like to have competition, what it's like to win and lose. And there's positives that come from both of those, as long as it's trained. So I think there's just keep an open mind when you have some of those things, when you're an old man like myself, and understand that things change and things adjust, and I'm excited. I think it's a great opportunity for the kids that are maybe some of the more underserved kiddos that we have.
My advice is typically meet kids where they're at. I've got 5 kids. My oldest is huge into gaming. His high school didn't have an esports team, but and I'm not a gamer, but we learned to talk to him about gaming. So I've learned a lot about gaming that I won't ever personally use, but it gave us something to talk about. So whether it's talking about gaming or fashion or whatever book they're reading, I just try to meet all my kids where they're at. What is their interest, and learn about it so I can talk to them about it, because they're not going to meet you where you're at. So you need to be the one to initiate that.
Wow. I'll tell you what, folks, that's a lot of good advice right there. For me, I think whether it be walking the tightrope between anxious generation and launching esports, or whether it's physical competition or virtual, I think at the end of the day, the number 2 things we need to make sure we're teaching our kids: to be able to look people in the eyes and shake somebody's hand and make that connection, because those that can do that will be if they have the good graces of their grandparents, they're going to be very successful in this next generation. And as I look at esports, I think that does provide that opportunity, because there's a level of competition, there's a level of community, there's a level of togetherness, because we're going to have a room, we're going to have an area designated for this, and we'll have a viewing space where people can see and watch the competition. And so we're super excited. Any parting words? I'll tell you what, folks, that is a wrap for the Huskie Pack Podcast. Keep tuning in, and we'll keep sharing some good news.